Okay, so tonight's story is called Teresa Joins the Pep Squad. Now to tell this story, I've got to go all the way back in time to about 1967. It all started at the Del Mar Fair. Yeah, I got my first job at the Del Mar Fair. I was working in the dime toss. I was very excited to be a carny. I found it very, very, very exciting. And there was a boy across the way that was working at the Tilt-A-Whirl. And I noticed him and he noticed me. He was a bad boy. I could tell it right from looking at him. He was just one of those guys you could tell right off. He was from the wrong side of the tracks. And I looked at him and he looked at me. And after I was done with work and after he was done with work, he walked over to me and he said, "Would you like to go get a box of popcorn?" And I said, "Yes, I would." So we went walking down the midway and we had popcorn and hot dogs and pink lemonade. And then we walked over to the beach and we sat down on the beach. And it was a warm summer night. And there was a little silver sliver of a moon in the sky with a wishing star right next to it. And we talked and talked and talked. And I thought he was the most interesting person I had ever met. I was 15. He was 18. And he told me about all his hopes and dreams. And he told me that he'd been a football player, that he'd been the starting quarterback at his school, but he started getting in trouble early. He said, "I've been to juvenile hall, I've been to Campo, I've been to California Youth Authority, you name it, I've been there." He said, "By the time I got out of that mess, my opportunities for football were gone." He said, "But I have other dreams. There's other things I want to do. I'd like to own my own landscaping business. I don't like being indoors. I like being outside. I like having lots of room, and I like plants, and I like to feel my hands in the dirt." And he said, "I think I could do well as a landscaper." And he said, "I want to have a little family. I want to have a nice girl." And then he looked at me. And he looked at me real close in my eyes. And he said, "I want to marry a nice girl like you." Nobody had ever talked to me that way before. And I want to tell you something. There is nothing stronger on this planet than teenage love. And I fell in love that night. I fell in love with him, and he fell in love with me. And he was telling me about the little family he wanted to have, and he said, "I want to have a nice little wife just like you, and I only want to have one child, and I want my child to be a boy. And I want to name him Dusty." And then he rolled up his sleeve, and he had the name Dusty tattooed right here on his shoulder. And he said, "I won't let my boy get in any trouble. I won't. I'll be with him. I'll coach him for his games. And I'll walk him to school and I'll walk him home, and I'll never let him go to juvenile hall. I'll never let him get in trouble like I did. I'll never let him grow up in California Youth Authority." And he told me those places are terrible. And he told me about all the hardships he'd been through. But he kept talking about his hopes and his dreams. And that went on for 2 weeks. For 2 weeks he worked at the Tilt-A-Whirl, and I worked at the dime toss. And when our shifts were over, we'd eat hot dogs and popcorn and cotton candy and pink lemonade, and then we'd go to the beach and we'd talk and talk and talk. And after a few days, when we were at the beach, we'd fall asleep in each other's arms. It was a hot summer love. So the very last day of the fair, we'd been up talking at the beach like we'd done every single night. We'd fallen asleep in each other's arms, and when we woke up, we were surrounded by police officers. They took him, and they took him over to a police car. They took me, and they took me over to a police car. And the policeman looked at me, and he said, "What are you doing with this boy?" I said, "Well, I think he's my boyfriend." And the policeman said, "This is a bad boy over here. This boy is a genuine badass. You don't know what you're doing. What's a nice girl like you doing, sleeping on the beach with your arms wrapped around this bad boy? And I said, well, I really like him. And the policeman said, you don't have anything to do with him. He is in trouble. He is in trouble all the time. He is 18 years old now. We're going to arrest him. And when he goes before the judge this time, he's not going to California Youth Authority. He's going upstate with the big boys. And he's going to learn how to survive in prison. And he might get out for a little while, but he's going back. He doesn't know it. He's going to spend the rest of his life in state prison. And that is that boy's future. And then he looked at me and he said, how are you getting home? I said, I'm going to hitchhike home. He said, oh, no, you're not. He said, we're going to take you home. We're going to make sure you get home safely. And I want this to be a lesson to you. And I said, well, can't I even say goodbye to him? He said, I'm going to give you 1 minute to say goodbye to him. By this time, my boyfriend's hands were handcuffed behind him. He didn't look concerned at all. He'd been through that before, and I went over to say goodbye. And they let us kiss. And my boyfriend said, don't forget me. He said, I get a few calls, I'll call you. He said, come visit me, write to me. And then they put him in and they shut the door, and I saw his face, his beautiful young 18-year-old face, and he was smiling. He was smiling like Cool Hand Luke. And he said, don't forget me. And I said, I won't. And I didn't forget him. I could never forget him. I would never forget him for the rest of my life. Because 9 months later, I had a little 6-pound baby boy that looked like a lot like that guy in that police car. My name is Teresa Gunn. People call me the Trailer Park Queen. I got star quality. I had it from day one. I'm the kind of girl you'd expect to see on the Jerry Springer Show. I grew up in Imperial Beach, California. Killed many a fascinating hour in the city, harassing undocumented citizens and eating taquitos, writing Teresa Gunn on people's garage doors. But I grew up and things changed as things do, and I chose the excitement and glamour of a well-known motorcycle club. I married a recent parolee in an entry-level position. I graduated with honors from the North Park Academy in Nagai. It's a summer I remember with great fondness, for that would be the summer that Romeo and I had a hot and torrid romance. Romeo was 12 and I was 27. It was the perfect combination of adolescence and experience. I'll never forget how cute he used to look, skateboarding down the sidewalk, his long blonde hair flying in the summer wind, his flannel shirt flapping. He used to wait all day long for me in front of the 7-Eleven, holding 2 large cherry lime Slurpees. He'd bring the Slurpees and I'd bring the tequila. Heard that song on the radio, the one that always reminds me of you. Made me want to call you on the telephone, say, let's go drinking like we used to do. We'll get tequila, Dos Equis too. You kiss me and I'll kiss you. I'll kiss you if you kiss me. I like the way you kiss when you get sloppy, baby. We won't take nothing, not nothing. We won't take nothing but the radio button. We'll fill the tank with dreams, fly across the tracks, wrap my arms around you. We ain't never coming back. We were in love, we should have gotten married. I'm a 3-time loser, but I'll go for 4. I got a case of wine to take us all the way to Memphis. got your wife and kitties, baby, we ain't coming back. How come you get so scared when you're out drinking with me? How about I set a limit? I'm gonna quit after 3. I don't get so messed up when I go out drinking with you. I cut way back on the cocaine, and I quit sniffing glue. Pick me up in your Belvedere. Hurry up, honey, get me out of here. We'll fill the tank with drinks, fly across the tracks. I'll wrap my arms around you. We ain't